Lost your right leg at the scene.
Yep.
Broke your pelvis.
Yep.
What other injuries did you suffer?
The amputation on my right side, as you mentioned, it was 2 fractures in my pelvis. I broke my ankle on the left side. There's a huge scar on my calf, which I'm very lucky to have even kept this leg. I have some nerve damage on the upper areas of both legs. I had a mild traumatic brain injury, hence the reason I can't remember a lot of shit. The semi-detached retina of my left eye, and I also developed the slow onset of type 1 diabetes as a result of the trauma. My name is Lance Corporal Cassidy Little. After leaving my home in Canada, I relocated to England and joined the Royal Marine Commandos. Attached as a medic with 4-2 Commando, I was on operations in Toki area of Helmand Province when my colleague stepped on IED. He and 2 others died from the explosion while I lost my right leg, fractured my pelvis, and suffered a brain injury. But I refused to let those injuries define my life. Since leaving the military, I've become an actor and appeared in numerous stage, TV, and film roles. In 2015, I took part and won in the People's Strictly Come Dancing. This is my story. So I was born in Ottawa, Ontario, capital of Canada. My father is a retired brigadier general from the Canadian Air Force. And so up until my mom and my dad split, I was very much moved from pillar to post. My grandfather, Bill Little was in the Canadian Army, by the skin of his teeth, survived Normandy. You know, Bill Little was a soldier, was a warrior.
But you didn't initially want to follow in their footsteps, did you?
I have a younger sister. I watched her do a dance recital when I was in year 5, and the whole audience jumped up on their feet, screaming and cheering for them. And I said to my mom at that moment, I want to do that. So I danced every day, every second day, and the days I wasn't dancing, I was learning to sing. And I joined a gospel choir. So vocals, dancing, and acting. You know, I auditioned, got a scholarship, and went to university to study dance.
So what changed? Why did you not pursue that? How did you end up in England?
Originally, I came to the UK to be a stand-up comedian. I met a woman, and we were in the pub, having a few pints. My stepsister was there, her name's Beth. I'm talking about some idea I have. They say, yeah, but you're not gonna do it. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, well, you come up with ideas, but you don't follow anything through. And I was a little taken back by that. So I look at the girlfriend for support, and she looks at me and she says, they're right. So she says, I'd like you to get into better shape. I thought, well, Christ, if you want to join the Army, you gotta be in good shape. And so I walk into the recruiting office. I was like, who's the hardest branch of the armed forces to join? The Royal Marine Commandos, currently advertising, 99.99% need not apply. You need not apply to them, but you're going to because they won't accept you because you're just not what they're looking for. But you'll be in good shape and you'll win your bet. I quit everything. I quit takeaways. I quit, smoking wasn't a problem anymore. I prioritized fitness over alcohol. They loaded me onto the PRMC, the Potential Royal Marines course. At the end of the PRMC, this guy looks at me and says, are you sure you want to do this? I said, yeah. So I'd go to Lympston. Once I was training to be a Royal Marine and I was on track to being considered one of the best soldiers in the world, I don't even think it ever had anything to do with the bet. This was about trying to be the best. I'd spent 6 months of my life learning how to be a Royal Marine Commando. And a Royal Marine Commando, as said by Margaret Thatcher, should be kept in a box and only let out at times of war. And we were smack dab in the middle of a war. 4-2 was ready to deploy. They were in pre-deployment training, so I said, yes, I want to go there immediately. Once I got there, the first few days were amazing, and then they called a ceasefire. And it was tough. We couldn't even patrol out. Then we went to a different part of Afghanistan. It was one of the hottest places in Afghanistan. We were contacted every day. We were in firefights every day. And so I was able to cut my teeth, so to speak, under fire constantly. It was the Wild West. My second tour of Afghanistan was different. So now it was a case of guerrilla warfare. They were at that point where the only way they could do any damage was to ambush us. And by that I mean embedded explosions, IEDs. It became an exercise of literally walking through hell, because anything could just go off. The SOP in the first one was to always keep moving so that, a sniper won't shoot you. Okay. In my second tour, the SOP completely changed. It was like, once you go firm, don't keep moving because you might step on something and blow up the whole fucking team. Like that right there, simple example, but it's such a true example of we're not worried about snipers anymore. And it didn't take a clever man to bury a bomb. And they were everywhere.
Well, let's move on then to May 27th, Cassidy, 2011.
Oh, yeah.
What were you doing on the day? Just talk us through that day.
The Royal Marine Commandos are the pointy edge of the stick. And so if there's a new place to go, send the Corps. They're good at that. So we go into this area. They pay a guy a lot of money to give us his compound, and we set up around it. If I remember correctly, they immediately start engaging us within a day of being there. They stop with that and they start throwing explosives over the wall. Finally, the boss says, screw this, we're going to find him. I'm tired of being shot at like fish in the barrel here. So we start patrolling out. And I have no idea what day mixes with what hour. I know that there was a prayer garden. It was green. It was so green. We're posted up on the corners of this thing. And we know that we need to go from this compound to the next compound, but we don't know what's safe. And the most effective way to get from point A to point B safely is to get somebody to show us. The guy who owns the prayer garden said his son would lead us over there. I remember the kid freaking out. We get to another compound. Kid loses his shit and legs it. It's gone. Now this is what they call a combat indicator that something's probably not right? So all the valens come out, all the metal detectors. We know we're in the shit. We just need to know why we're in the shit. And then I remember watching a dust cloud rotating above me. And my mouth was really dry. It was like I had a mouthful of sand. My elbows and my hands started to pulse like I'd fallen off my bike, like road rash. And I tried to scream and I couldn't scream because my mouth was too dry and too full of sand. And I couldn't figure out why I couldn't move. Liam's face comes into view. And he's pale. And I could hear him going, "You're gonna be okay, you're gonna be okay, everything's okay, you're gonna be okay." And I was like, why is he telling me I'm gonna be okay? And by this time some moisture returned to my mouth. And I think somebody had put some painkillers in me. And I said, is it gone? Or is it just hanging on by some string? He's like, it's gone, gone. Like in another compound, gone. I blacked out again. Next blur of reality, I hear somebody say the helo's on its way. The HLS is going to be in the field. And I say, I need you guys to be careful when you're carrying me because I think my pelvis is broken. And you can bleed to death in your pelvis. And then they grabbed me by my fucking webbing and dragged me 150 meters across a fucking farm field with a broken fucking pelvis. I passed out somewhere along the line. And I come to and I'm being carried from the helicopter into the hospital at Bastion. And after that comes the horror show that nobody prepares you for of your imagination when you're in a fucking coma. That's the 27th of May. So when I started to come to, I started to feel pain. And I was like, okay, I've been tortured. And then at one point in time, I accused the nurse of taking my leg off with a hammer. Like that gives you an indication of what was going through my mind, right? My brain was playing tricks on me. I could hear voices that I recognized around me, and I couldn't figure out why nobody was coming to get me because I couldn't move. I had an X-fix and I had shit sticking out of me, right? Like I literally wasn't allowed to move, let alone could move. But I thought they'd had me tied down. In comes this lovely nurse, and I'm telling her, you clearly speak English, get me to my people and we can get you out of this country. We can get you back to the UK. And she says, you're in Birmingham. The male nurse comes around because I was starting to get agitated to kind of, check one thing or nothing. And I chinned him. Cut me some slack, okay? I've been in a coma for 2 weeks, all right? Not much of an uppercut came out of me. And then in comes my dad. Retired Brigadier General Clark Little. And he said, you're home. It's okay. You're missing a leg. You still might lose the other one, but you're home.
So tell me about those two guys, Sam Alexander and Ollie Augustine. Did you know at the time that they died?
I think there's a part of me that knew Sam was in bad shape. Sam was a mentor to me. He was an MC winner, an outstanding, brave man with a family. Ollie was a young officer with so much fucking potential. He was a good man with a great sense of humor. They were true bootnecks. And the times I wondered why I deserved to have survived that, and those two didn't.
How do you cope with that guilt?
Alcohol. I didn't realize it at the time, but it became the most important thing in my life. I would drink for all of them.
How did you stop?
I found a 12-step program 3.5 years ago, and haven't had a drink since.
And what was the point that got you there?
Remembrance Sunday, 2020. My wife had finally had enough, and I was looking down the barrel of losing my daughter. I'm really grateful for that 12-step program, because today my daughter is my best friend. I realize now that the grieving process is a river that you're trying to cross. And there's only one way to cross it, and that's through it. But if you want to get to the other side of the river where acceptance is, then you have to keep pushing through. I never really feared for my future. You know, I thought about going to med school. And then I decided to be an actor instead. Starting with Bravo 22 Company, and I did a lot of work with them. And so yeah, I've had some success. I did a few episodes of Coronation Street, and I loved those people. Doctors, phenomenal experience on Doctors a couple times, right? Playing different characters. You know, like Holby City was phenomenal. Films, I weaseled my way into a film called Doom Annihilation, where I was the captain of my own goddamn starship. Kingsman, working on a film that's got millions and millions, like 50, 60, $150 million budget, huge. They took an entire field and turned it into World War I. I love being an actor because it's fun. It's one of the most fun jobs in the world.
Tell me about the people Strictly. What was that experience like?
So I was told I was going for an ident, right? Like I was just like, hey, one-legged guy who's doing this, and now it's the news, right? Like just, so I get in there with Steve, and Steve's like, oh, I'll do it with you. And Steve and I, they're like, hey, why don't you try this? And I was like, all right, I can do this. And yeah, well, try this. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can try. Like, no problem, right? Like, no problem. I was a fucking professional dancer. And I hear nothing from it. So I was like, I felt like I'd let Steve down, if I'm honest. Little did I know that behind my back, he'd gone to these very powerful people and said some very powerful things, meaning that my sense of humor, my positive outlook on a very grim outcome helped a lot of people in Headley Court. Little did I know that I got chosen to be one of the 6 very lucky people who were given the privilege of being a part of the People's Strictly. And at the time I was working for Forces TV. I was sent down to Portsmouth to do a bullshit story, and we get out there and we got Nelson's ship in the background, and I'm thinking, oh, a camera crew's here on a secure military facility. Here comes the band. They're coming straight towards us. And so it's like, we need to get out of the way. That's the Royal Marines band. They will march over us. And then it all turns into fucking chaos. And it was a hell of an experience, man. Natalie became a very close friend of mine. They were literally some of the best human beings in this country. Incredible human beings. But I gotta tell you, man, dancing in front of 5 million people or 10 million people, how many people are watching, that is an intimidating prospect, even for a dancer. It was just a hell of an experience, man. We are always going to be at war, even if we're not firing bullets. The Veterans Foundation puts finance into the hands of the people who can help. So when somebody says, help me, I really need help, I have PTSD and I don't know what to do, they can get picked up. The magnificence of this is that you can help somebody with a small contribution. You can be a part of the assistance. I've been assisted by the Veterans Foundation and the Veterans Lottery. it's nice to know that that's there, that safety net exists for me. So thank you. Thank you for contributing.
You're proud to have been a Royal Marine.
Oh, fuck aye. Royal Marine Commandos are the best fighting force in the world. Absolutely proud to be a member. Absolutely. If you want to help veterans like me, please play the Veterans Lottery.